Ordinary days can feel like a long gray road with no end in sight. You wake up, you work, you deal with the same frustrations, and you go to bed feeling drained. But what if the problem is not your life, but the lens through which you view it? The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This is the core promise of Stoicism. Our perception, not our circumstances, is the ultimate architect of our daily reality. This video presents 20 transformative mindset tweaks drawn directly from ancient Stoic wisdom. By the end, you will possess a practical toolkit to turn monotonous days into a life infused with purpose and unshakable resilience. We will uncover how to find hidden strength in every obstacle and why loving your fate is the key to profound freedom. What single shift in thinking could make your tomorrow feel entirely new? The single most important Stoic concept for transforming your day is understanding what is and isn't up to you. This is the dichotomy of control. Your judgments, your desires, your reactions, your character, these are all firmly within your power. But external events, the past, the opinions of others, even your own body and reputation, these are ultimately not. The philosopher Epictetus, who began his life as a slave, opened his manual for living with this very idea. He wrote that our chief task in life is to examine and separate our concerns so we can say of everything that happens, "You are nothing but an appearance." By this, he meant we must identify what is truly ours to manage and then pour all of our energy solely into that bucket. When you internalize this separation, ordinary frustrations lose their power. Consider getting stuck in a traffic jam. You cannot control the red lights or the endless line of cars. That is an external event, but you have absolute sovereignty over your response. You can choose to clench the steering wheel, curse the delay, and arrive at your destination boiling with anger. Or you can accept the situation as it is, put on an audiobook, or use the time for a few minutes of quiet reflection. The traffic jam itself is neutral. It is your judgment of it as a catastrophe that creates the suffering. What one situation from today can you reframe by focusing only on your response to it? What if the traffic jam you faced was not an inconvenience but a gift? This is the radical invitation of the second mindset tweak, Amor Fati, the love of fate. The Stoics did not believe in merely tolerating hardship. They advocated for a deep, affirmative love for every single thing that life brings. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Your fate in its entirety is the fuel thrown into your life's fire. The goal is to burn so brightly that you transform it all into light and warmth. Consider the Roman philosopher Seneca. He was a wealthy and powerful statesman, a trusted advisor, until he was abruptly exiled to the island of Corsica for alleged adultery with the emperor's niece. He was torn from his life of prestige and comfort and sent to a remote, barren place for 8 long years. A modern person might see this as a catastrophic end, a reason to despair. But Seneca did not. In his letters from exile, he reframed the entire experience. He saw it as an opportunity to deepen his philosophical practice, to write, to study nature, and to strengthen his inner resilience without the distractions of power and politics. His exile, the very thing meant to break him, became the crucible that forged some of his most profound work. Amor Fati asks you to do the same with your daily interruptions and major setbacks. It is the practice of looking at any obstacle and declaring, "You are exactly what I need right now for my growth." That difficult coworker is not a nuisance but a teacher of patience. The cancelled plan is not a disappointment but an unexpected opening for rest or a different kind of connection. The project that failed is not proof of your inadequacy, but a masterclass in what does not work, guiding you toward what will. This is how you turn leaden obstacles into golden opportunities. It is an active search for the hidden benefit, so think of one recent setback you encountered. Can you identify 3 potential gifts or lessons it was trying to give you? Perhaps it taught you a new level of patience, revealed a hidden strength, or simply cleared the way for a better opportunity you could not yet see. This cosmic perspective was a personal exercise for Marcus Aurelius himself. He would write in his private journal, you can almost hear him reminding himself how quickly all of this, all our achievements and anxieties will be forgotten. He would visualize the entire bustling Roman Empire from high above, seeing its cities as mere ant hills, its wars as brief squabbles, and his own life as a fleeting spark. This was not an exercise in nihilism, but in profound liberation. By making his concerns feel small, he made his inner peace feel vast. You can apply this same view to the pressures of your own life. When a work deadline feels like an insurmountable mountain, pause for just 30 seconds. Close your eyes and pull your mental camera back. See your desk from the ceiling of the room, then from the height of a satellite, then from the orbit of the moon. On that pale blue dot in one of its countless cities is your project. In the grand timeline of the universe, this deadline is a single, brief moment. This does not make your work meaningless. It simply places it in its true context, draining the panic and urgency that your immediate focus can create. It returns you to your task not with apathy, but with a calm, focused clarity. How does shifting your perspective to a cosmic scale change the weight you give to today's problems? Stoics believed in regularly rehearsing potential setbacks, not to be pessimistic, but to be prepared. This practice is called Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. It is a mental drill where you calmly and deliberately visualize the specific challenges that could disrupt your day. The goal is not to dwell on fear, but to drain future events of their power to shock you. By facing them in your mind first, you build a resilience that makes the actual event, should it happen, feel almost familiar. Seneca wrote extensively on this, advising us to remind ourselves that we are mortal, that our possessions are temporary, and that fortune can change in an instant. He was not fostering gloom, he was building an inner fortress. Think of it as a psychological inoculation. A small, controlled dose of a problem strengthens your entire system against the real thing. Before an important meeting, instead of just hoping for the best, take one quiet minute. Consider what you would do if your presentation fails to impress, or if a key colleague criticizes your idea. Do not spiral into anxiety, simply map out your calm response. You might decide you would thank them for the feedback, ask clarifying questions, and schedule a follow-up. By preemptively deciding your reaction, you strip the potential failure of its emotional sting. It transforms from a terrifying unknown into a manageable scenario you have already navigated. What single worry about tomorrow could you disarm by mentally preparing for it today? Your time is limited, and remembering this is a powerful tool for creating an extraordinary day. The Stoics called this Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die. This is not a dark obsession with the end, but a bright and urgent reminder to live fully right now. Marcus Aurelius counseled himself to live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without sloth, without pretense. He was not suggesting a frantic, bucket list style of living, but a life of deep intention and reasoned action. When you carry the awareness of your own mortality with you, It acts as a filter for your attention. It sifts through the noise of trivial irritations and pulls forward only what is truly essential. Think of how a looming deadline for a project forces your mind to focus, cutting out distractions and clarifying your next step. The awareness of mortality is the ultimate deadline, a constant, gentle pressure that focuses your entire life. It asks you to stop postponing your joy, to stop tolerating what drains you, and to start engaging with what genuinely matters. If you knew this was your last week, what would you stop doing immediately, and what would you start? The answer to that question holds the blueprint for transforming your ordinary days. You would likely stop scrolling through endless feeds, stop holding onto petty grudges, and stop saying yes to things you resent. You would start having that difficult but necessary conversation. You would start the creative project you have been delaying. You would start truly listening to the people you love. Memento Mori is the daily practice of asking that very question, not with fear, but with a clear-eyed focus that makes every single hour count. The blank page is not a place for confession, but for excavation. Marcus Aurelius did not write his meditations for an audience. He wrote them as a nightly dialogue with his own soul, a rigorous examination of where his character had been tested and where it had faltered. This is the active Stoic practice of journaling, a tool for dissecting the day before it becomes a forgotten blur. Seneca championed this same habit, advising that we should subject ourselves to a daily cross-examination. What ills have I healed? What temptations have I resisted? In what ways am I a different person today? He believed this was how we tamed our passions and sharpened our reason. Your journal is the training ground where you relive your day, not to brood, but to rebuild. The goal is to spot the patterns, to see where an external event, like a critical comment from a coworker, triggered an internal storm of anger or self-doubt that you then acted upon. By writing it down, you separate the event from your judgment of it. You begin to see that it was not the comment that upset you, but your own interpretation that the comment meant you were incompetent. A simple structure can guide this reflection. First, ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I act with courage, patience, or integrity? Acknowledge these small victories, for they reinforce your growth. Second, and this is the core of the work, where did I allow externals to control my peace? Did I let a traffic jam dictate my mood? Did I sacrifice my principles for someone else's approval? Be brutally honest, but without self-flagellation. You are a scientist observing an experiment, not a judge delivering a verdict. Finally, ask, how can I do better tomorrow? This turns insight into intention. If you lost your temper today, your intention for tomorrow might be to pause for 3 deep breaths before responding to any provocation. This process transforms journaling from a passive diary into a proactive tool for reshaping your mind. So take a moment now. What one recurring thought or habit from today would you most want to examine and understand through this lens of compassionate scrutiny? That initial flash of anger after a cutting remark, the sinking dread from a critical email, these raw reactions feel like absolute truth in the moment. But the Stoics identified this very feeling as the primary source of our distress. Epictetus offered a simple but profound tool to disarm these emotional landmines, a practice we now call cognitive distancing. He taught that it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our interpretations of them, our immediate, often unexamined impressions. The moment you receive bad news, your mind instantly slaps a label on it, shouting catastrophe or injustice. Cognitive distancing is the act of pausing that automatic process to affix a different, more accurate label first. You learn to say to yourself, this is not a disaster. This is merely my initial impression of a disaster. This tiny gap between the event and your judgment is where your freedom lies. Imagine opening a work email where a colleague harshly critiques your proposal. Your first impression might be a surge of humiliation and defensiveness, a conviction that they are trying to undermine you. If you act from that raw impression, you might fire back a sharp reply, escalating the conflict. But if you practice cognitive distancing, you take one conscious breath and label it. This is just my impression of being attacked, you tell yourself. It is not the event itself, it is my mind's first, unvarnished story about the event. By naming it as an impression, you create a pocket of space. In that space, you can then ask rational questions. Is there any useful truth in this feedback? Could they be stressed or misinformed? What is the most constructive way to respond? The critique itself has not changed, but your relationship to it has been utterly transformed. You are no longer a prisoner of your first thought, you are its observer. What recent strong emotional reaction could you have softened by first labeling it as a mere impression? That flash of road rage, that pang of envy on social media, that anxiety before a difficult conversation, each is just a first draft written by your emotions, a draft you now have the power to edit with your reason. Stoics deliberately sought out minor hardships to build an unshakable core of resilience. This practice of voluntary discomfort is not about punishing yourself, but about immunizing your happiness against the whims of fortune. Seneca argued that we must periodically practice poverty to truly appreciate our wealth and to prove to ourselves that a good life is possible without it. He suggested sleeping on a hard mattress or wearing simpler clothes, not as a permanent change, but as a temporary training exercise for the soul. The goal is to intentionally step outside your bubble of comfort to discover a profound truth, that you are far more durable than your circumstances suggest. When you choose to walk to the store on a chilly morning instead of driving your warm car, you are not just saving gas. You are actively demonstrating to your own mind that a little physical discomfort is not a crisis. You feel the cold air on your face, you notice the world around you, and when you return home, the simple warmth of your house feels like a gift, not an expectation. This small act strengthens your gratitude muscle and weakens the power that minor inconveniences hold over your mood. The philosopher Musonius Rufus taught that practicing hardship in times of peace prepares you for the inevitable storms of life. By willingly experiencing a small dose of lack, you build a deep-seated confidence that you can handle much greater challenges should they arise. What small, manageable comfort could you consciously set aside this week? Perhaps foregoing that afternoon snack to feel genuine hunger, or turning off the heating in your car for a short drive. This voluntary act is a quiet declaration of independence, proving to yourself that your peace does not depend on perfect conditions. The endless chase for more is a race with no finish line. Society whispers a constant lie that happiness waits just over the next hill with the next purchase, the next promotion. But Stoicism offers a radical alternative, a quiet rebellion against this exhausting pursuit. True contentment is not found in getting what you want, but in authentically wanting what you already have. The former slave Epictetus, a man who owned almost nothing, cut to the heart of it. He said that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This is the art of contentment, the practice of shifting your gaze from the distant horizon of what you lack to the rich landscape of what is already here. It is about discovering that your current life, with its existing health, relationships, and resources, is entirely sufficient for a good life, if only you choose to perceive it that way. The concept of enough is not a lowering of your standards, but a raising of your awareness. That cup of coffee in your hands, the roof over your head, the ability to take a deep breath, these are not small things. They are the fundamental elements of existence, and when you truly see them as gifts, your entire experience of the world shifts from one of scarcity to one of profound abundance. So take a moment for a powerful mental exercise. List 3 things you already have that, if you lost them tomorrow, you would desperately wish to have back. Your eyesight, the sound of a loved one's voice, the simple freedom to walk through a park. Are you fully appreciating them today, right now, with the intensity that their potential loss would demand? Your effort is a seed you can plant with care, but the final harvest is never truly in your hands. This is the core of the 10th mindset tweak, focusing on the process over the outcome. The Stoics drew a bright line between what is ours to manage, our intentions and our actions, and what is not, the final result. Your job is to pour your full energy into performing your role with excellence and integrity. The applause, the victory, the specific outcome, you must learn to regard these as preferred indifference, welcome if they come, but not necessary for your inner peace. Epictetus, the philosopher who knew the fragility of external success better than most, put it perfectly. He said, "In life, our job is not to secure a good role, but to perform well the part we have been given." Your focus should be on the quality of your play, not on the audience's reaction. Think of a major project at work. You can control your preparation, your research, the diligence you bring to each task, and the collaboration with your team. You can pour your heart into creating something of genuine value. This is your process, and it is where your satisfaction must live. The outcome, however, whether your manager praises it, whether it wins a company award, or whether it is met with silence or criticism, lies in the realm of external events. When you tie your happiness to that unpredictable result, you hand over your tranquility to forces beyond your command. But when you derive your fulfillment from the act of creation itself, from the integrity of your effort, you reclaim your power. You can finish a project that ultimately fails and still feel a deep sense of accomplishment, knowing you gave it your absolute best. That inner scorecard becomes your only meaningful measure. Where in your own life are you clutching an outcome too tightly? Is it in a relationship, a fitness goal, or a creative pursuit? How would your daily anxiety lessen if your primary goal shifted from winning to simply playing the game today with all the skill and heart you possess? Your personal ambitions are a single thread in a vast living tapestry. The Stoics saw themselves not as isolated individuals, but as citizens of the world, deeply connected to all people and the natural order itself. This is the principle of sympatheia, the profound interconnectedness of all things. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this in his private writings, reflecting on the shared rationality that binds humanity together, a single breath animating countless bodies. When you internalize this view, your sense of self expands beyond your own skin. The stranger you pass on the street is not an outsider, but a fellow participant in the same grand project of existence. This understanding naturally fosters a deep and genuine empathy, dissolving the artificial walls that create feelings of loneliness and separation. It transforms your role from a solitary consumer of experiences into an active contributor to the common good. A powerful way to practice this is to perform one small, completely anonymous act of kindness. Perhaps you pay for the coffee of the person behind you in the drive-thru, or you leave a genuinely encouraging note on a public bench. The key is that no one knows it was you. In that quiet action, you are not seeking recognition or reward. You are simply strengthening the fabric of the whole, tending to the shared garden of humanity without any expectation of personal gain. How might seeing yourself as fundamentally connected to others change a routine interaction you have tomorrow? That brief exchange with a grocery store cashier could shift from a transactional moment to a genuine human connection, a chance to offer a moment of patience and warmth to another thread in the great tapestry. Your mind is a fortress, but its gates are often left unguarded. Every day, countless impressions and thoughts arrive at those gates, demanding entry. The 12th mindset tweak is the discipline of assent, the Stoic practice of becoming the vigilant gatekeeper of your own inner world. This is the art of not automatically agreeing with every initial impression that flashes through your consciousness. Epictetus gave his students a clear command. He said, "Do not let the force of an impression when it first hits you carry you away. Instead, say to it, 'Wait, let me see who you are and what you represent.'" This simple act of pausing creates the critical space between a triggering event and your emotional surrender to it. It is how you stop a spark of irritation from becoming a forest fire of rage, or a flicker of worry from becoming a torrent of anxiety. Consider a modern scenario. You hear a rumor from a colleague that your manager is unhappy with your recent performance. Your initial, unguarded impression might be a cold wave of panic, a story your mind instantly writes about being incompetent and soon to be fired. The undisciplined mind would immediately assent to this story. It would believe it as absolute truth, and your entire day would be poisoned by stress and defensiveness. But the mind trained in the discipline of assent intercepts that impression at the gate. It holds the story up to the light and examines it. Is there any concrete evidence for this? It asks. Has the manager said anything directly to me? Could this rumor be based on a misunderstanding or the other person's own insecurity? By withholding your immediate agreement, you drain the impression of its destructive power. The rumor remains an external event, a piece of data, but it does not become your internal reality. You choose not to let the unverified narrative move in and rearrange your mental furniture. What is one common negative thought pattern you have? A story that your mind loves to tell, and what would it look like to consciously withhold your assent from it the very next time it appears? An obstacle is not a roadblock, it is the road itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. This is the heart of the 13th mindset tweak, finding the specific opportunity hidden within every single obstacle you face. The Stoics saw a problem not as a misfortune, but as a training ground deliberately placed in their path to develop a virtue they were lacking. A delay teaches patience, a criticism teaches humility, a difficult person teaches understanding, and a failure teaches resilience. Your challenge is to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Think of a project at work that hits an unexpected and lengthy delay. The immediate reaction is often frustration and a sense of wasted time, but the Stoic lens reveals a different landscape. This delay is not empty space, it is a gift of time. It is an opportunity to improve your original plan, to conduct more thorough research, or to learn a new software that will make the final product far stronger. The obstacle itself, the delay, becomes the very vehicle for creating a superior outcome. It forced you to develop the skill of agile planning or the patience to refine your work. Look back at a recent obstacle you faced. What hidden strength or skill did it force you to develop? Perhaps a financial setback taught you resourcefulness, or a personal conflict deepened your capacity for empathy. The obstacle was never the end of your progress. It was simply the path taking a necessary turn to build a stronger you. We are so often visitors in our own lives, physically present but mentally living in a yesterday we cannot change or a tomorrow that does not yet exist. The Roman philosopher Seneca captured this haunting truth when he wrote that the mind is anxious about the future and miserable about the present, and so it wanders absent from itself. It borrows troubles from a future that may never arrive, and it replays grievances from a past that is already finished. This mental time travel is the thief of an ordinary day, robbing you of the one moment you truly possess, the eternal now. Stoicism offers a powerful corrective, a call to root your awareness firmly in the present task, for it is the only slice of reality you can actually influence. Your past actions are fixed, your future plans are uncertain, but your present intention and attention are entirely yours to command. This is not a call to abandon planning, but to stop letting your plans become a source of constant, disembodied anxiety. The goal is to engage with life as it happens, not as you fear or hope it might be. A simple way to practice this is to choose one routine activity and perform it with your complete, undivided attention. The next time you drink a cup of tea, do not scroll through your phone or mentally rehearse your day. Instead, feel the warmth of the mug in your hands. Notice the subtle steam rising. Truly taste the flavor with each sip. Be fully there for that one simple act. Or when you walk to your car, feel the ground solid beneath your feet. Listen to the sounds around you, the wind, the distant traffic. See the colors and shapes of the world as if for the first time. In that state of full immersion, the mundane is transformed into the extraordinary. The tea becomes a rich experience, the walk a brief meditation. You reclaim your life from the phantom zones of past and future and plant it firmly in the vibrant, living present. What mundane activity from today could become extraordinary if you gave it your complete, undivided attention? Washing the dishes, tying your shoes, even listening to a colleague speak could become a profound exercise in being truly, wholly alive. A philosophy that is never tested in the real world is merely a collection of empty words. Stoicism was never meant to be a comfortable intellectual exercise. It is a forge for the character, and the only heat that tempers steel is consistent, deliberate action. The Stoic teacher Cleans, who literally carried water by night to support himself so he could study philosophy by day, lived this truth. He did not just lecture on virtue, he embodied it through his relentless labor and simple needs. Your understanding of these ideas means nothing if it does not change how you navigate a difficult Tuesday. An extraordinary day is not crafted from grand, sweeping declarations, but from the quiet accumulation of small, virtuous actions. It is the choice to speak with honesty and kindness when a conversation becomes tense, even when anger would be easier. It is the decision to apply focused perseverance to a tedious but necessary task, finishing it with care instead of rushed resentment. Every time you act with integrity where you could have cut a corner, or with courage where you could have remained silent, you are not just completing a task, you are actively sculpting your soul. The gap between knowing what is right and doing what is right is where a life of purpose is actually built. So here is the most important question you will answer today. What one Stoic idea from this video can you commit to acting upon before the day is over? Will you practice voluntary discomfort by taking that walk in the cool air? Will you apply the discipline of assent the next time a critical thought arises? Your choice to act right now is what turns wisdom from a concept into a lived reality. Stoic apathy is perhaps the most misunderstood weapon in your mental arsenal. We hear the word apathy today and think of indifference, a cold emptiness, a person who simply does not care. But the Stoic meaning of apatheia is its exact opposite. It is not the absence of feeling, but the profound freedom from the turbulent, irrational passions that hijack your reason and plunge your days into chaos. This is the state of being unmoved by the storms of excessive emotion, not because you are numb, but because you are anchored in something deeper. The Stoic goal was always to live in accordance with nature and reason, and a mind whipped into a frenzy by every passing feeling is a ship tossed on violent seas, incapable of a steady course. Apatheia is the calm, clear water that allows for true navigation. Consider the natural emotion of sadness. When you experience a loss, it is human and healthy to feel the genuine pang of grief. This feeling is a truthful response to the world, a wave that washes through you and then recedes. A destructive passion, however, is when that single wave becomes a tidal wave of despair. It is the voice that whispers this pain will never end, that your life is now ruined forever, that you are defined entirely by this one event. This passion clings to the initial feeling, amplifies it with catastrophic stories, and refuses to let it go, creating a suffering far greater than the original loss. The practice of Stoic apathy is not about suppressing the first honest tear. It is about refusing to follow that tear down into the bottomless well of self-pity. It is the conscious choice to feel the sadness without becoming the sadness. Where in your own life do you confuse a healthy emotion with a destructive passion you could work to free yourself from? That flash of anger when someone cuts you off in traffic is a natural, biological startle response. But the passion is the one that keeps you fuming for the next 20 minutes, rehearsing what you should have yelled, allowing a stranger's momentary action to steal a significant portion of your peace. That flicker of anxiety before a presentation is a normal signal to be alert and prepared. The passion is the full-blown panic attack that convinces you of impending public humiliation. By learning to identify this crucial difference, you begin to disarm the passions. You grant yourself permission to feel the initial emotion fully, but you then gently guide your mind back to the solid ground of reason, asking, is this feeling serving me, or is it ruling me? This is the cultivation of a calm and steady mind, a mind that feels deeply but is not drowned by what it feels. Gratitude is not a warm, fuzzy feeling. It is a radical act of correct perception in a providential universe. The Stoics viewed the cosmos as a single, rational, and interconnected whole, where every event, from the grandest sunrise to the smallest inconvenience, plays its necessary part in the unfolding of a divine order. To be grateful is to align your vision with this reality, to acknowledge the intricate web of cause and effect that sustains your existence in this very moment. It is how you stop seeing the world as a series of random occurrences and start seeing it as a continuous gift. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the known world, began his private journal not with commands or anxieties, but with a detailed list of thanks. He expressed gratitude to his grandfather for good character, to his father for his modesty, and even to the gods for the guidance they provided through dreams. He was actively training his mind to see the benevolence woven into the fabric of his life. You can cultivate this same sight through a simple daily ritual. Each morning when you wake or each evening before you sleep, pause for a single minute. Do not just list generic blessings like health or family. Instead, mentally note 3 specific, concrete things you experienced. The warmth of the sunlight on your skin during your walk, the precise moment a stranger held a door open for you, the surprising clarity of a thought that came to you while washing the dishes. By focusing on these tangible details, you are not just counting your blessings, you are rewiring your brain to scan for and find the good that is always present. This practice does not deny life's difficulties, but it places them in a context of overwhelming abundance. Beyond the obvious comforts of your life, what is one small, seemingly insignificant thing from today that you can feel genuinely grateful for? Was it the taste of cool water when you were thirsty, the sound of rain against the window, or the simple fact that your body carried you through another day without complaint? Every impression that enters your mind becomes a part of you, shaping your inner world from the inside out. In our age, the greatest source of these impressions is no longer just personal interaction. It is the endless river of digital information we swim in daily. The constant stream of news alerts, social media debates, and opinion pieces presents a profound test for the Stoic mind. This is why the 18th tweak is the mindful consumption of information, an active application of the discipline of assent to what you read and watch. 2,000 years ago, Seneca wrote letters advising his friend Lucilius to avoid the crowd, for it was a source of corrupting opinions and agitated desires. He warned that without a firm principles, you will be polluted by the company you keep, even if that company is just the voices you absorb through a screen. The modern crowd is digital, and its opinions are broadcast directly into the sanctuary of your attention. Every headline you click, every video you watch, every comment thread you scan is an impression knocking at the gate of your mind, asking for your assent. To grant it automatically is to let a stranger rearrange your mental furniture, often leaving behind clutter, anxiety, and anger. The practice is to become the gatekeeper of your own feeds. This is not about ignorance, but about curation and intention. A practical starting point is to conduct a simple audit. What one source of information consistently leaves you feeling agitated, powerless, or cynical after you engage with it? It might be a particular news channel, a social media account, or even a group chat. The next step is to consciously limit your exposure. This could mean unfollowing that account, turning off notifications for news apps, or designating just 1 or 2 specific times per day to check updates, rather than living in a state of perpetual reactive refresh. You are not withdrawing from the world, you are choosing to engage with it on your own terms from a foundation of calm. What source of information consistently disrupts your inner peace, and what would happen if you consciously limited your exposure to it for just 1 week? The space you create might quickly fill with a quieter, more constructive clarity. Your character is not built in a vacuum, but sculpted by the examples you choose to hold in your mind. The Stoics understood this intimately, and they made a deliberate practice of surrounding themselves with the ghosts of great men and women. They called upon these figures not as distant idols, but as personal advisors and living standards for their own daily conduct. Epictetus was explicit in his instruction to his students, urging them to have Socrates always before your eyes as your model and pattern. This was not about blind worship, but about creating a constant internal benchmark for virtue. When you are faced with a moral dilemma or a moment of petty frustration, you can ask a powerful question: what would my role model do in this exact situation? The answer provides a clear path forward, cutting through the fog of your own immediate desires or fears. Your role model could be a historical giant like Cato the Younger, whose unwavering integrity was so profound that his political enemies could find no genuine scandal in his life. It could be a modern figure known for their resilience or compassion. The key is to select someone whose specific character traits you can consciously emulate in small, manageable ways throughout your day. Think of it as borrowing their strength until you have fully built your own. If your chosen figure is known for their patience, then the next time you are stuck in a long line, you have a ready-made script to follow. You are not just waiting, you are practicing the virtue of your mentor. If they were celebrated for their courage in speaking difficult truths, then that intimidating conversation you have been avoiding becomes a chance to channel their spirit. This practice transforms abstract virtues into lived actions. So who is your Stoic role model, and what specific virtue from their life can you consciously practice in your interactions today? Is it the calm rationality of Marcus Aurelius when faced with chaos, or the humble perseverance of someone in your own community? By keeping their example close, you are never truly walking your path alone. The final moments of your day hold a quiet power most of us surrender to exhaustion. While the morning sets your intention, the evening seals your progress, turning the scattered events of your waking hours into a deliberate curriculum for your character. This is the practice of the evening review, the 20th and final tweak that bookends your day with purpose. It is not a long, burdensome diary entry, but a concise and honest audit of how your philosophy met your reality. Think of it as a gentle but firm conversation with your wiser self, a closing of the loop you opened when you first rose. You began the day with a plan, with principles you intended to live by. Now, in the quiet of the evening, you hold that plan up to the light of what actually happened. The review asks three simple but profound questions. First, where did I succeed in applying Stoic principles today? Perhaps you consciously practiced cognitive distancing when a colleague made a snide remark, pausing to label your initial impression of anger before it could dictate a harsh reply. Maybe you found an opportunity for voluntary discomfort by taking the stairs, reinforcing your independence from petty comforts. Acknowledging these victories, however small, is essential. It builds the confidence that you can, in fact, live this wisdom. The second question requires more courage. Where did I fail? Where did my reactions betray my principles? Be specific and compassionate. Did I lose my patience in a long line, handing over my tranquility to a minor delay? Did I chase an external outcome like approval and feel crushed when it did not come? This is not about self-condemnation, but about clear-eyed diagnosis. You cannot fix a leak you refuse to see. The final question transforms the entire exercise from an autopsy into a blueprint. What did I learn? Every failure, every moment you fell short contains a seed of instruction. That moment of impatience teaches you precisely where your trigger lies, so you can prepare for it tomorrow. That longing for external validation reveals a dependency you can now work to dissolve. This nightly ritual of review ensures that no day, no matter how ordinary or difficult, is ever wasted. It all becomes fuel for your growth. How would your approach to tomorrow change if you knew you would be conducting an honest review of it tonight? Would you walk through your hours with a little more intention, a little more awareness, knowing that each action is a sentence you will later read back to yourself? This final practice is the engine of continuous improvement, the quiet turning of the wheel that, day by honest day, forges an extraordinary life from your perfectly ordinary moments. These 20 mindset tweaks are not a checklist to be rushed through, but a single, interwoven system for building an unshakable character. Each practice supports the others, creating a resilient architecture for a life of purpose. The daily journal reinforces the discipline of assent, which makes voluntary discomfort easier, which in turn fuels your appreciation for the present moment. This is not about collecting 20 new habits, it is about cultivating one unified way of being. The entire Stoic path rests on a single, profound truth that we have returned to again and again. Your transformation will never come from rearranging the world outside your window, but from the disciplined management of the world within your own mind. Your perception and your judgment are the raw materials from which you will build your extraordinary days. Seneca captured the ultimate reward for this lifelong work with elegant clarity. He wrote that the mind is never right except when it is at peace with itself, and when it understands that there is no difference between what is right and what is in agreement with nature. This is the peace that awaits you, a quiet certainty that comes not from a perfect life, but from a life lived in harmony with reason and virtue. Do not feel you must master all 20 of these ideas at once. That is a sure path to feeling overwhelmed. Start small, with immense kindness toward yourself. Choose just 1 or 2 of these mindset tweaks to focus on for the coming week. Perhaps you will begin your day with a moment of cosmic perspective, or end it with a brief evening review. Maybe your only goal for tomorrow is to practice cognitive distancing the next time a strong emotion arises. A single, small step taken with consistency will carry you farther than any grand, unsustainable plan. We would love to hear which of these Stoic practices resonated most deeply with you. Share in the comments the one mindset tweak you feel called to explore first. Your choice might just inspire someone else to begin their own journey, creating a community of learners all striving to build lives of greater resilience and quiet